The Fraser Valley real estate market has finally hit its peak.
Are you sure?
Well, maybe not quite just yet, but we're getting very close.
Wait a second, you're a realtor. Realtors say the prices only go up.
Well, unfortunately, there are some realtors that do have that outlook. However, personally, I just like to be as transparent as possible and share the facts with you. So are we already at the peak? And if not, when are we going to be there? If you want to find out, stay tuned because it's coming up right after this. What's going on, guys? Alex Dunbar with the Dunbar Real Estate Group and RE/MAX Treeland Realty based out of the Surrey-Langley areas. In this video, I'm going to tell you when I believe the Fraser Valley real estate market's going to hit its peak and what that means for you if you're a buyer or seller. But before I get started, I just want to ask one thing from you, and that's to hit that like button so the algorithm will push this video out to more individuals just like yourself who want to learn more about the Fraser Valley real estate market. I put out videos just like this one on a weekly basis, so if you're interested in seeing more, I suggest that you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I put out a new video. But getting right into it, let's talk about why I believe that we're almost at the peak. First of all, I like to track the total level of inventory for the Fraser Valley real estate market on a daily basis. And what I've noticed over the past 2 weeks is that we've seen almost a 38% increase in inventory. On February 1st, we had 1,988 listings, and as of today, February 14th, we have 2,734. And with one of the primary factors driving home prices higher being the lack of inventory and excessive demand of buyers, this is the first place I'm looking to see some sort of a cooling. Now, of course, there are other factors at play, such as record low interest rates and rampant inflation. However, those aren't things that we track on a daily basis. Additionally, comparing February of 2022 to February of 2021 at this exact day, there are more listings and less sales. And if we're to go back to December of 2021, we have over a 62% increase in listings. So while there is still an incredibly high demand from buyers, there's a lot more product for them to choose from. Additionally, when looking at the sales to active listings ratio just last month in comparison to this month, we can see that it's significantly down. If you're not familiar with the sales to active listings ratio, this is a statistic that we use to show what type of market we're in and what sort of activity we're having. So looking at this graph, we can see that detached houses are down from 78.6 to just under 50%. Apartments are down from 143% to about 96%, and townhomes are down from almost 200% to around 87%. So while these are still extremely high sales to active listings ratios, they are significantly down from last month. Do keep in mind that in order to see an actual balanced market, we need to see between 12 and 20% for these numbers. And for a buyer's market, it would have to be under 11%. So we're still very far from that. However, we are trending in the right direction. So aside from the statistics, there's a few other things that we need to take a look at. First of all, being the fact that interest rates are more than likely going up in March. My prediction is that they're only going to raise them by 0.25%, which is going to have more of a psychological impact than anything. But if they are to raise them by 0.5% or more, this could have a more drastic effect. What you have to keep in mind here is that the majority of people in Canada getting a mortgage are subject to the stress test. That means at this point in time, they have to qualify at either 2% higher than their actual mortgage rate or 5.25, whichever is higher out of the two. So if we are to see a quarter point increase, this is only going to decrease the buying power of most by 2 to 3%. Moving on, I want to speak about my ground level experience. Statistics are great and all, and I love using them myself, but typically they only show patterns and trends after the fact. So many of the things that are actually happening in the market today aren't going to show up for another 30, 60, or even 90 days. So it's great to use them as objective data points, but at the same time, we have to rely on what's happening right now. And one of the best ways to do that is to speak with a realtor who's actively in the market and speaking with others as well. So based on my own experience, I'm seeing more and more homes get less showings, less offers, and sometimes even going through their offer presentation date without getting a single offer. Last week, I had a new condo listing go live in Willoughby, and in the exact same complex, 6 other condos went live the same week. While just a few weeks ago, we'd be expecting a minimum of 20, 30, 50, or even 80 showings, this is no longer the case as consumers have more product to choose from. Homes with less attractive features that would have been getting a ton of interest just a few weeks ago are now getting overlooked, and the majority of listings in general are just getting a lot less interest. For instance, at my office, we have a Facebook group where people are actively engaged and talking to each other, and just last week, there was a handful of agents commenting commenting on how they were barely getting any showings. Whereas just a week previously, comparable listings were getting over 40 showings. Now don't get me wrong, we're nowhere near a buyer's market. There is still a ton of activity out there, but it's nowhere like it was just a few weeks ago. What I will mention though is that the townhome market seems to be the least affected at this point in time. It's more so condos and detached properties that I'm seeing a little bit less activity in, but again, it all depends on the property type, price, and location. But as townhomes in Surrey and Langley begin to cross that $1 million mark, I think this may be the turning point. If you're in the market or have been following it, what most people are doing at this point in time is listing a property on a Tuesday or Wednesday, allowing showings all week and weekend, and then taking offers on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. The majority of properties have been getting 5, 10, or even 15 or more offers, and over 95% of them seem to be selling subject free. What's also adding into this slowdown is sellers that have too high of expectations. Many are seeing a record-breaking sale price in their complex or neighborhood and then expecting theirs to go significantly over that. So sometimes, even when they're getting offered a record-breaking price, they still don't feel it's good enough. Now the danger in this is that when the market turns, they're gonna probably end up leaving money on the table. The market can turn quicker than you think, and if your expectations aren't in line with what's going on right now and not 2 weeks ago, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. What I'm starting to see more of now is agents listing properties a little bit low, getting offers over asking, and then the sellers aren't happy with whatever that offer price is and they end up relisting significantly higher the following week. Now if prices begin to stabilize or even start to come back down, these listings typically sit on the market for a couple of weeks, and in the end they end up losing out on getting the highest possible sale price. If you've been thinking about selling, I have good news for you. I don't think we're quite at the peak yet, but we're getting very close. Now I don't have an exact date in mind, but I believe it's gonna be in about the next 30 days. So if you have been thinking about selling, it's probably best to start having a conversation earlier than later. And at the very least, start to explore your options. And if you're a buyer who's already been in the market or you've been sitting on the sidelines, I suggest you start keeping your eye out. I believe that more and more opportunities are going to come up for you every single day, and it's important to watch for properties that go through the offer presentation date and don't end up getting anything. Your realtor is able to keep an eye out for these, and if this is the case, you may be able to lock down a property without competing.
Unless you happen to run into one of those sellers with too high of expectations.
So what do I think is going to happen with prices over the coming months? Well, personally, I think prices are going to start to flatline here very quickly. At some point in time, I do believe we'll have some sort of a pullback, but I don't think it's going to be anything significant. And when that is difficult to say, but I think it would have to be at least in the summertime or later. And when I talk about a pullback, this is nothing significant and nothing like a crash. This might be 5, 10, or even 15% on the high end. Because if we're to look at the Fraser Valley real estate market historically, whenever we do have some sort of a pullback, it's never typically more than 10 to 15%. And after we've seen those pullbacks in the past, time after time, prices continue to trend upwards. But regardless, at the end of the day, you need to have a long-term approach with real estate. The market's always going to move up and down, but over the long run, it always trends upwards. A good way to think about it is a yo-yo on an escalator. It's going up and down, but over the long run, always upwards. So to summarize, sellers, if you have been thinking of selling, I think your best bet is in the next 30 days. And for buyers, make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. Opportunities are gonna start coming up more and more, but you have to be ready to pounce. And that's about gonna do it for today's video. So if you did get any value, I'd ask that you hit that like button. And if you're interested in seeing future real estate videos just like this one, I suggest you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I come out with a new video. If you've been thinking about buying or selling in Surrey, Langley, or the rest of the Fraser Valley, I'd be more than happy to go over your options with you. You can scroll down, hit the first link, and book a call with me at your convenience. And if you have any questions or comments about today's video, I'd love to hear them, so leave them down below in the comments and I'll make sure I get right back to you. Once again, I want to thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.